Um, it's now my great pleasure to actually introduce our next speaker, Gina from Adrenaline. I've heard Gina talk a number of times, and it's always dynamic and informative. So, Gina, come on up on stage.
Nice to see you. Hello. I will try to be dynamic and informative. I'm here to talk today about reimagining branching, and really to say that it's time right now for more than change. It's time to really rethink how you're doing what you're doing, and it's because the biggest banks right now are making big moves, and that means a lot for what you're going to face, and I'm going to tell you what to do about it. I'm going to start with some inspirational headlines. This is from Forbes in 2019. Thank you. This was 2020. Dead. And in 2022, there were more branch closures, a record high, and that was because of COVID. There was a great right sizing and reconciliation. And then the Wall Street Journal in 2022, banks are ditching their branches. Maybe you should too. So there was that. But then at the beginning of this year, we found out that we added more net new branches for the first time in a decade. Then we started seeing headlines like this: Chase, 500 new locations, renovating 1,700 next 3 years. Bank of America, renovating entire network, opening more than 165. PNC, investing $1 billion and building 100 new, which 2 weeks ago they just doubled to 200 and increased the investment to $1.5 billion. And on and on and on by some of the largest players. And what this means is that they are aggressively coming in to really compete with what community and super community banks' greatest advantage is, which is your physical locality. And that presents a real risk if you are not ready to compete with them. And what is not even in the headlines is what is happening at the smaller institution level that we're seeing with our clients, which is really a great branch race. So welcome to the race. And if you have not already started gearing up for the race, you are already behind, because this is a marathon race. This is not a sprint. This is not just about going faster and bigger. This is about being smarter for the long haul. And if we wonder why, let's just ask Jamie Dimon with his big face up here. People like to visit their money, he says. And that is ultimately why the branch channel is working. And everyone has figured it out, and everyone is doubling down on their investment and attention in it. But it must change. The nature of branches change, but people go there. So what do we do about that change? Well, let's start with why they're going. They're going because they want to open new accounts, they want financial advice, and they want to interact with you in person. So online account opening is at its highest level, but look at these stats. In the last 18 months, consumers use the branches more than any other channel to get advice, to solve problems, to acquire new products. 50% are saying they'll use it in person. 50% of account originations were in person. And like Josie from First Bank said, for most community institutions, that number is much higher, closer to 75% or even 85%. And 7 of 10 people want to turn to the branch to solve problems. And when selecting a new checking account after fees, branch and ATM access is why they're going to make a decision. And also, it may seem counterintuitive, but the young people, Gen Z, they're like in their 20s. You probably haven't thought about them that much, but they have real jobs and they're real people and stuff right now. And they are interacting 3 times as much in the branch as baby boomers. We published, if you missed it, we published a white paper on Gen Z and the future of finance earlier this year that explains what the young people want. And another hot off the press paper we just published called The Branch Advantage actually talks about how branch transformation works for community institutions, for retail banks and credit unions. There's been a number of studies done for larger banks, but not many at the smaller level, and great things. Excess deposits, you see here more than 22% in excess deposits. Over 2/3 are exceeding industry growth, some by a lot. But what we also asked all of these banks and credit union leaders about is how did you do it? And the common thread for everyone is that they needed to think differently than they had before. They needed a transformative approach in order to change. So, to win the race, you must reimagine branching. Going to talk about that on the 2 sides, expanding to new and upgrading current. These are the 2 things you need to do. No big deal. Seems easy. 2 things. All right. So when you're expanding, also keeping in mind the subhead of this talk, which is merging data and design, I'm going to talk about what matters when you are thinking about what to deploy new. So we know it's all changing, but I think the real result of what this change means is largely underestimated. The purpose of the branch has literally done a 180 from what it used to be. The new purpose is now, number 1, it is your front door, it's your beacon, it's your billboard, and if it's not there, you're not even in the consideration set. Number 2 is financial advice, expert consult in moments that matter. Number 3 is human service. When digital channels can't, I want to know I can go somewhere and get service. And number 4, what we used to build the branches for, transactions, is the 4th purpose. Now, what matters about the purpose for them is how it relates to the purpose for you. The front door for them means acquisition for you. Financial advice for them means cross-sell and deepening share of wallet for you. Human service for them means building loyal customers and members for you and attrition mitigation. And number 4, basic transactions for them are actually an opportunity for you to get more efficient, to take cost out with people and leveraging technology. Now, here are the pieces you need. Not a big surprise. Analytics. Hopefully, some of you have at least something. You need design. I know all of you have something. I don't know if it's good or not. And you need a plan. Now, here's the problem with what's happening with these things today. They're not connected. They're being done in isolation. So on the analytics side, maybe you have a DIY software tool. There's a lot of them out there. Or maybe you're using an expensive consultancy. But now you have a lot of data and you're not exactly sure what to do with it. And it's not just about, ooh, this area is growing, let's go there. It needs to be much deeper than that. Design, yes, you have a design, great. Is the analytics informing the design? Bad things are happening in these gaps between these things. And the worst bad thing is that they're not connected to planning and how you're actually spending your money to get a return. So you end up with things like the right design in the wrong location, or the wrong design for the market that it's sitting in, or the wrong real estate you found. And those need to be connected with strategy. Now, that may not sound groundbreaking, but the vast majority of organizations that we work with, and I'm talking little to big, do not have a what we call North Star strategy, which is a cohesive vision for how retail delivery works in your institution. If you don't have strategy, you cannot transform, period. There was a recent webinar we did with Kuranos, where they're a strategic partner of ours, where we went over the de novo success rate over the last 10 years, and it is wildly hit and miss. This is how you don't miss. This is how you get hits, by integrating strategy. So, okay, let's see this in practice. We've got analytics, we've got our design, maybe we have a good design with zones of experience. Now, when we integrate a strategic approach, we start looking at markets not just as our north region and our south region, but as segments. And we start to actually segment them by commonalities other than just geography. And then when we take those segments and apply the purpose drivers, the value, we start to have an allocation. You need stakeholder alignment to do this, of what values should we be driving where, and then those start to actually guide design. So for a metro location, if acquisition is our priority, we better design these things like billboards and staff them with new business. In legacy, we probably need to house line of business, and we're focusing on cross-sell. And in community, we can get smaller and get more efficient, but we need to focus on loyalty and attrition mitigation. All of this leads to smarter planning, so you have the right purpose, the right place, the right function happening in those places, and the right people. And doing that in an execution roadmap that is smart. Now here, an example in practice. This is Origin Bank. We designed this new North Star for them 7 some odd years ago, and it was very much more of a community or legacy type of location. It was in their home market, and it had a commercial lending office attached. This is about deepening cross-sell and share of wallet. Contrast it with this beautiful location just opened up in Dallas. This is a market where they have little to no brand awareness. They are trying to make a statement. So look at this as a statement. If this is a facade, that perforated metal was brought from Italy, the brand is really big, there's an inside digital halo that projects out day and night, and it looks like a place where what they're attracting, which is wealth and high-end commercial, want to go. But these are just two of a spectrum of archetypes that they use that all track towards a North Star strategy, including that third picture, which isn't the most inspirational branch you've ever seen, but was a giant facility that Chase exited in their home market, where, to be clear, there is no market opportunity for this bank, that they reinvested in and made it a center for really their community commitment and their commitment to customers in their home market. And then that is supported with digital channels that are more efficient. And also look at the staffing that goes with each of these things. This is a strategy of archetypal delivery. Now here, let's look at another example, Comerica Bank. This example on the left was their new full-service location, beautiful, completely reimagined, great on strategy. On the right is a new format they just launched, Business HQ. And this is a really innovative concept that's focused on connecting small businesses with each other, with the community, helping foster entrepreneurship, and it is ultimately an acquisition play for them. This is one of many archetypal formats for retail delivery that they have, including more efficient formats, including self-service technology that they brand their ITMs as Banker Connect, and the staffing to go with it. And then here's another example of a new branch format designed with smart purpose for Incredible Bank. I think Incredible's here. Sarah, there you are. Hi. Incredible CEO Todd said, I want it to not look like a bank. So we tried it. It doesn't really. And what's innovative about this, the purpose, this is a very high growth and high volume market in Cape Coral, Florida, and drive-through is huge. So we had to create something that customers could drive through easily but still get hand-holding service. And what's interesting about this is that the bankers have 180-degree visibility outward. So this is a billboard, but it also enables car-side servicing. And it is supported by the design inspired then ITM designs elsewhere as standalone beacons in a hub and spoke. So great examples of designing with purpose. The takeaways for expansion. Have a North Star strategy. It is the way to maximize your network investment. And when you connect data and design, that is in the form of delivery archetypes. Okay, so that's pretty easy compared to this one. So this is upgrading what you have. And the problem with what you have is that it's probably not good and not right. And it has people and expected behaviors, so now you have a whole other layer of complexity that you're starting from. This is harder, it's more complicated. And so the analytics to strategy to design story looks a little more like this, which is make sure when you're looking at the analytics, yes, you know about your performance. Do you know about your potential related to your performance? Where is the market room? Then the strategy here becomes an action matrix, and this is what we use in our partnership with Curinos. It's the best data. We're combining that with knowledge of actual design and implementation in something that looks like this. So you've got a performance and a potential 2x2. Everyone needs a 2x2. And when you start classifying your branches in this way, it starts informing action. And the more it's on the edges, the extremities, in its plotting on the 2x2, the more priority it has, and the more clear the action is you need to take. And then on the design side, to go fast, you need to think about creating a guidebook, a cookbook of standards and multiple tiers. And that is how, in short, you transform. Let's look at that in practice. When you have high potential, low performing branches, you need to do something. They're usually overall your highest priorities because there's gap in that you are missing out on. There is share to be gained. And this is an example for United Bank. This is on K Street in Metro DC, and it looked like that. And no one noticed it. And so an exterior renovation only, we didn't touch the interior, did major things for increasing billboard presence. It made a community impact. People and businesses on the street said, thank you for making our street look better. But the point is it's getting noticed. That is how you approach a fix. But this is just one of many actions for United. This is in Navy Yard. This was a new deployment in a very high growth, high potential. Rationalize, they are supporting with ATMs and ITMs. And then Harvest, which I'll talk about, is more of you have high portfolio opportunity. How do you continue to cultivate and harvest it for more business? Another example, we'll go to the favorite rationalize box. Rationalize could mean close, and for some of you it does. But it also could mean when you have a branch like this that looks like that, you demolish it and in its place put 2 drive-through ITMs. So you're at 1/8 of the OpEx. And you are getting an enhanced billboard value servicing customers in a very low potential, low performing area. So this is an example of downsizing. This is for Guarantee Bank in Mississippi. And you can see again, multiple examples of where they're renovating something that was in a high performing market but looked like crap. You have something growth that's new, high performance, high potential. And then Harvest, that is a historic building the CEO decided to buy in a non-growing area of Greenwood, Mississippi, because like Origin CEO, he wanted to double down on community commitment and deepen relationships, deepen share of wallet. That's harvesting. When we go to grow, something to consider, especially in and around M&A and or rebranding. And M&A, if you've missed some of those headlines, is on the rise. So it may be in many of your futures. When you think about something like rebranding, make sure you are tiering and segmenting like this so you know where to spend the extra money. When Everwise rebranded from TCU, they spent extra money in areas that were high potential, high opportunity. The same thing for Flagstar. We did this rebrand about less than a year ago and had multiple tiers, and these were all examples of high opportunity, high potential markets. So instead of just refacing that Flagstar red sign, we could replace it with a new, expensive but worth it pylon or monument sign that's new. Something else, look at the bottom. On the left is a horrific example of branch marketing. Branch marketing, I will just mention, is huge to consider and reconsider. You have to make the best use of the branches you have, and you have to market intelligently in them with digital signage, with local displays, and with more organized views of static and digital collateral. So these are examples of what to do and grow. And then in harvest is where you need to defend your existing portfolio and have refreshes, marketing, and upgrades, but not as much as in grow. You may think you're killing it because there's great performance, but actually maybe there's not that much potential. So you need to keep harvesting. And so that was an example for Valley Bank that was also done as part of a conversion. And then this example for UW Credit Union. These are multiple branches where lots of lobby space. They're trying to double down where they already are. So as you upgrade, the harder thing, network actions are what you need to think about activating strategy from data and design. And what I didn't get to talk about, but will also want to leave you with, is the idea of creating programs. Start to think as networks, not as just branch deployments. Standards, tiers, guidelines, that is how you create consistent, efficient, and effective enhancements. And that's it, just the 1-2 things of how you transform and reimagine branching. And I will leave you with this quote from a futurist that none of you have heard of, named Alvin Toffler, but I really like the quote. You've got to think about big things while you're doing small things so that all the small things go in the right direction. I wish the best to all of you in your network transformation journeys, and thank you very much.